Way, Jose.
The following footage proves beyond any doubt that the tanks intentionally set the house on fire. It proves that the Branch Davidians were murdered. You can see that this tank has a gas jet on the front that shoots fire. You can also see the fire quite plainly. The tank goes into the house twice, and each time as it backs out, the fire at the gas jet is plainly visible.
We must all do more to recognize and look for the early warning signals that deeply troubled young people send.
Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the Morning Dump, and I am today's host, Jose Galison. Maybe Austin will join us later. I'm not sure. Probably not, though. He's cracking down on his latest. So he's got to put his nose down to the grindstone so he can knock out another episode here soon. Good morning, Hey Say White Now. Good morning, Eddie Grimm. Good morning, Doctori. See you guys all in the chat. Great to see you guys today. Happy Valentine's, everybody. It is the 14th today, and we have some stuff to go through. And I also want to let you guys know I have the weekend basically myself. The old lady and my youngest are out, so I'll be definitely doing morning streams, both today, to Saturday, Sunday as well, and probably try to squeeze in some bonus episodes. So I'll be around. I think I'll be able to get Austin to hop in for at least one of those too. So make sure to pop in for those 10 a.m. Eastern. That'll be when we're doing them, barring some sort of weirdness going on. What's up, King David? What it do? All right, guys. While we wait for more people to roll in, let's go through. I just want to remind you guys that today's episode is brought to you by Nadeau Shave Co. If you're tired of that razor burn, the irritation, those ingrown hairs that come from those multi-blade cartridges, then this is the way to go. You don't need expensive nonsense. You can shave just like your grandpa used to. Whether you're shaving your whole face or edging up your beard, the single blades give you a barber-grade shave for a fraction of the price. The standard issue includes one traditional safety razor, as pictured here, and a box of 100 stainless steel razor blades. That puts you out at $75. The estimate's supposed to be about a year. Let's be real, that depends on your shaving, your frequency of shaving. If you're someone who shaves on the reg or almost on the reg, like almost daily, then you may want to consider the Core Shave Club. But otherwise, I mean, this pretty much does it. I've barely put a dent into mine, but I don't shave daily. So, but with that, also, I do want to remind you guys, this is a COVID mandate refusing company. This company was born in refusing the COVID mandate. So this is a superior product. I mean that as you get a better shave, it is better for your face. It's also a cheaper product. And on top of all that, this is from a company that doesn't hate your guts. And I mean, last but not least, you can also use code Jose at checkout for 10% off your entire order. All right, guys, let's get back into it. Let's get to some topics. What do we got going on? The first thing I got for you guys today. Here is Trump recently trying to take some questions. I figured maybe you guys might get something out of this. Let's listen to this.
Raising anti-India voice, calling about separation terrorism activities in India. Do you think that should continue here in the US as well?
You're going to have to go louder.
Mr. President, people in India would be welcoming your decision to extradite Tahabur Rana to...
I can't understand a word he's saying.
May I, sir? May I? May I, sir?
All right, that was just me being silly. Obviously, I know there's nothing important going on there. I just thought that was a funny little... All right, yeah. Now let's get on to some serious news. Now there is we talked about yesterday about the peace deal seems to be back on is what's going on. I know it was up in the air for a little bit. We were all a little concerned that perhaps that was going to fall through, but we talked about this yesterday. I reported on Dave DeCamp's reporting yesterday on that it was back on track. Today, this is the same thing sort of, but it gives a little bit more detail. So, because it was kind of crazy that we were talking about yesterday. It was kind of like, it looked like this entire thing was going to fall through. And it was looking really bad for Gaza, and then all of a sudden it's almost like a complete 180. Not only was it back on, and no longer was Israel signaling that they were going to, continue or resume hostilities. Not only that, but it looked like they were getting some of the requests, which were supposed to be conditions of the ceasefire, but they weren't being upheld before. So point being is it looked really optimistic. Now I guess there's a little bit of drawbacks here, so maybe it's not as rosy as maybe we thought. Because I'm very confused. I feel like there's got to be some sort of things going on behind the scenes that we're not seeing, or even whether that's in the Knesset or in Congress, or if it's some sort of because this could just be some sort of Israel influences that we just don't understand going on here. But this does seem very bizarre. But there's a little bit more to this. But yes, it's still on. They're still going to be doing the whole hostage deal come tomorrow, supposedly. But I'll read this real quick from because it's not a long article. Hamas on Thursday plans to release 3 Israeli hostages on Saturday as agreed on the ceasefire deal, and Israel appears to have backed down on its demands for more captives to be freed. The Times of Israel reported that Israel is preparing to receive 3 hostages on Saturday despite Netanyahu backing President Trump's threat that the genocidal war would be restarted if all hostages weren't released. Earlier this week, Hamas said it was postponing the hostage release, citing Israeli ceasefire violations, complaints that Israeli officials acknowledged were legitimate. Now, I frequently bring up when we've talked about this little point, I can't remember who came first when it came to, because there was signals from Israel that they weren't going to follow through on their part, or the statements about this. So it is kind of like what preceded what. Either way, they were, the Israeli officials then acknowledged that these were legitimate complaints. So they did it under conditions of anonymity, but they still did it. So, in this, I guess the specific condition referring to here was tents, temporary buildings, allowing some construction vehicles, I believe, to come through as well, which supposedly they were preventing. All right. Hamas's main gripe appeared to be over Israel blocking tents, mobile homes, and construction equipment from entering Gaza. According to Middle East Eye, dozens of bulldozers and caravans entered the Egyptian side of the Rafah border crossing and are expected to be allowed into Gaza. Egyptian officials told Reuters that Israel would let heavy construction vehicles enter Gaza in exchange for the hostage release happening as scheduled. But Israeli officials denied the report. So this is where things vary a little bit from yesterday. I can't remember if they had made this report, but there were claims that aid was coming through, the sort of aid that was being prevented. So it seemed very positive. But now there seems to be a little bit of a con here. Although from my initial reading of this earlier today, it seemed like there's still some stuff getting through, but it may not be the extent that it was being portrayed as. Unsure. A spokesman for Netanyahu said that there is no entry of mobile homes or heavy equipment into Gaza, and there is no coordination for it. Now, to be fair, if we're to take their word for it, if they're saying no coordination from it, I would assume that means there's nobody that's setting this up, because I'm not sure the terms if it's Israel that's being required to do these things, but I would assume that it's probably that it's more that it's Israel should allow them to do these things, like because essentially Israel was preventing a lot of things coming in and out. So I think the idea is that to allow certain things to come through, and this being those things. So point being is maybe they're saying there's no coordination. Maybe this isn't something that people have set up. I find that a little bit hard to believe, as big of an issue this is. There's no charities that have some sort of thing set up or countries that are involved in aid or whatever. But I digress. A little bit beside the point. The Netanyahu spokesman also acknowledged that Israel still hasn't begun negotiations on the second phase of the ceasefire deal. Another little tidbit that kind of goes into the cons here. The lack of talks in the second phase is another violation of the agreement, as they were supposed to start on the 16th day of the ceasefire, which began on January 19th. So they were supposed to start on the 16th. Oh, geez. So, man, it's been almost a month. And they were supposed to, because I remember we were talking about that, maybe this was a couple weeks ago or what, all the talks about how, like, he kept, not sending his negotiators or sending them, but with no ability to do anything. So like, yeah, they're clearly dragging their feet in this. And there was like, he was waiting to talk to Trump, but I guess they still haven't done it. So there's a lot of feet dragging going on where I guess they were already supposedly supposed to have done this already. And this, having not done it, is a violation of the ceasefire. I wasn't aware that was, I mean, I would assume they should have done it by now, but all right, 1 second. I got a cough, guys. My bad. All right. I'm still all fucked up and my throat's all scratchy and been coughing here and there. Sorry, guys. All right, back to a lot of the talks. All right, the ceasefire in Gaza is still extremely fragile, as Israel bombed Gaza on Thursday after claiming a rocket was fired inside the strip. But a source from Gaza's police force said the rocket was an unexploded Israeli ordnance that detonated while being moved. According to Times of Israel, Palestinian report, the 14-year-old boy was killed by detonated ordnance. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of just more, we talked about this yesterday too. The death toll is up to, I thought it was 93 yesterday. Now it's saying at least 92. So I don't know. Maybe there's some sort of qualms with one of those numbers. They pulled back. I'm unsure. But either way, yes, I know it seems redundant because this is a lot of the same from yesterday, but there is minor differences, and it kind of provides a different characterization of it than kind of how I portrayed it to you guys yesterday, because that's kind of how I saw it yesterday. So now this kind of gives me a little bit more of a more wholesome view. We'll see how. Whoa, what's up, dude? What the fuck? That scared the shit out of me because I'm like, I had that other tab up and I'm just like looking at it and then I just hear your voice. Scared the fuck out of me. Some voice of God shit. Well, all right. That was perfect timing. I just finished that. I mean, we've been talking about the, God, did I just X out of it? Oh no, here we go. Well, you just, right. Hey, Austin, what's up?
What's up, brother? How you doing this morning, man?
Yeah, I didn't see you come in at all because I'm just like, I'm not looking at the screen. I'm looking at a different screen. But yeah, no, I don't know if you're following the hostage deal, but I mean, I literally, this story, I basically covered the exact same thing yesterday. There was just slightly more details that came out today, kind of about the ins and outs of the hostage deal. Because I think me and you might have talked about it Already Dead. Like, I think last we talked about it, it was like really, really, really rocky, looking rough, looking like it was about to completely fall through. That was, I think Trump made the statements about like, oh, they need to get the hostages all back. Then I think it was you that even told me that BB then fucking parroted him. And then all of a sudden, just like miraculously, they just said, just kidding, we're back on, deal's back on. We're, as planned. And not only that, but now Gaza was getting more provisions supposedly. So it's like, they actually came out better for it, I mean, it's just kind of weird. It's a little bit of whiplash because I don't know what forces are acting behind the scenes that are making things move or change, whether that be Congress or the Knesset or what. But yeah, I mean, it's just weird. But I was just covering here because this one gave a little bit more asterisk, and that like I guess they're saying supposedly that they actually haven't let some of the heavy equipment in, and then also that Israel's still violating shit because of the fact that they were also supposed to have started almost a month ago. They were supposed to have started negotiations for the next round of the ceasefire.
Interesting. Yeah, I had seen that Hamas says it will release 3 hostages, which I was like, what, on Saturday, right? So that was like at least an effort in the right direction. You know what I mean? That seems to be some sort of negotiating tactic. So that's awesome. But yeah, any sort of positive news on the front in regard to the war in Gaza is positive in my mind. Like we have to at least appreciate it and take a small victory lap, at least hopefully for a moment. There seems to be some sort of tactic of de-escalation that's at least being put forward in the right, at least as far as public perception is concerned. Especially you see all these, what Trump just said about cutting the nearly half of military spending. Hey, man.
Oh, we'll get to that. I have that. I definitely have that tab pulled up. I have plenty of tabs for us to go through. I don't know if you came with anything ready, but I am ready to the hilt.
Yeah, well then go ahead, brother. I'm honestly here for the ride. I have a few things that, if we want to talk about something randomly different, I still have that Pizzagate on Etsy thing that could, so it's whatever, but I'm down for anything, brother. Dude, I have to tell you something.
Yeah, what's up?
Oh my God, man. I I stayed up so late again. I'm so tired. I told you yesterday, like I stayed up till like 3 a.m. just like researching the Jeffrey McDonald case. But by the way, everyone should be ready to record by today. So I'm gonna try and have that at least it's coming out this weekend. That's let's just put it that way, right? So I'm super excited. I think you guys all appreciate it. It's gonna be an interesting one. I go into a little bit of like excruciating detail in regard to the court case and the like blood types at the crime scene and shit. But it's important in regard to really how the prosecution kind of manufactured their own evidence to sort of essentially the corrupt prosecution manipulated what the jury was allowed to see, and the judge was a part of it, Dupree. And so there's this entire miscarriage of justice that took place in regard to that. But so it is important. But anyway, I'm into the weeds. I didn't even mean to talk about that. So the whole fucking point I was gonna make. I get a text last night, dude. It was like late, and fucking it was Sam, and he's like, "Hey,
shit,
yeah." He goes, "What are you doing?" And you want to do something tonight? And I'm like, "What the fuck?
No fucking way."
I'm so fucking tired. But I was like, "Fucking all right, brother." And he's like, "Yeah, we could put it out to our patrons." And so I was like, "All right, fuck yeah, man," like, and so at 11 p.m. Pacific time. I fucking jump in to the StreamYard with fucking Sam and Brad Binkley, dude. And so we were supposed to do like a half an hour, and an hour later, we basically did something that Sam called "whatever this is," and we just fucking went schizo for a little bit. It was
This was
super
like
fun.
11 at night, you said? Like super late?
11
Okay.
Pacific time. It was late as fuck, dude.
Yeah.
But still, at first it was like, what time could you guys do? Like is 11:30 too late? And I'm like, fuck it, dude. I'm down. I'll do it. And apparently Brad, he's East Coast, I guess, and I didn't realize. I think so. But he was talking like he could stream as long as he was done by 3 a.m. Pacific time. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, oh my God, man.
Yeah, that's morning time over here. Like that's like time to wake up and go do a productive, have a productive day at work.
So I think it's that stand-up comedy schedule, But honestly, it was a lot of fucking fun. So dude,
okay,
I know, right?
But you're doing that. You're gonna paywall that though. So this is your paywalling.
Yeah, this will be my first paywall episode of all time with Sam and Brad Binkley, bro.
Dude, are you guys dropping them public later, or is it just paywall staying paywall?
It's just gonna be just a paywall thing. Yeah, basically.
Well, give them fucking money, people. Fucking there you go.
Yeah. I'm gonna post that. I got the link. He sent it like super late last night, so I'm gonna post that at some point today. And I was gonna ask you. We can do this off air, but like, how do you post to your Patreon? Is it just directly to your Patreon? Because I haven't really uploaded to it yet, right? As far as the content's concerned.
Oh, I can show you. I can show you after. Yeah. I can literally bring you on. Just don't leave. I'll show you. That's not really something I think people want to learn about the ins and outs of how to upload stuff.
All right. Anyway, that's your update, brother. I'm sorry.
Well, that's cool, dude. So we still have, and what was it? I think it's 2 weeks from now. I think something like that. We're going back on, so that's dope. I mean, hell, we're already getting to the point where I guess now he's just hitting us up on the reg when we got shit to do. So I mean, this is all right. We're building shit this year. It's gonna be dope. I mean, we're going back on tinfoil hat. We're doing it big, baby boy. So we're doing this regularly. I just for those who are I don't know why I'm struggling with the word right now. Anyways, segue aside because I fucked that up. My part 2 of the Vegas episode, my Vegas thing just dropped. It'll drop on YouTube for those who are on YouTube in like an hour and a half. It'll premiere, but it's already up on the audio podcatchers, Rumble, all that. So check that out. I'm going to be recording the third part probably on Sunday. I might really try to record a couple bonus episodes here or 1 or 2 this weekend. So we'll see. But let's get into the next story instead of. I know they don't like it when we talk about how the sausage is made, but I don't care. Whatever. We're hanging out. This one I just wanted to kind of do a quick aside. I just thought it was worth mentioning for those who keep track of the power politics and like the plays of like who's does what in relation to Israel, this, that, like. So this right here, Trump administration sanctions ICC prosecutor on behalf of Israel. So this has been a thing they were talking about. They were talking about sanctioning the ICC in general. I don't remember the specifics if they were able to do that, but I know they actually did it. One of the specific prosecutors Trump did. This is just, I mean, I don't really have any like thought. I mean, I'm just kind of like to be expected. It is what it is. I mean, it's some British lawyer, Kareem Khan. He's a chief prosecutor. Now I guess it's any like stuff he has here he can't get a hold of. Also, he can't come to the States. So, I mean, kind of shitty, but like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's to be expected.
The International Criminal Court guy, is that what you're talking about?
Yep. The prosecutor, yeah.
Damn. That's nuts. I mean, I'm not at all surprised, of course. Like, it's kind of par for the course in regard to Israel, so.
Yeah, I mean, me either. I just thought it was worth mentioning for people keeping track of who done what. So that's where they're at with that. So, I mean, just keeping track. This is worthwhile because then you'll have people who like to imagine Trump is some big bucker of Netanyahu, and then you're like, well, I don't know, maybe check this out. So, but all right, this is one of the ones we were talking about a bit ago. This is Trump. This is from Ken Klippenstein shared. It says Trump proposes trilateral agreement with China and Russia to mutually draw down military budgets by 50%. One of the first meetings I want to have is, well, I'm not going to read that. That's the thing. Let's listen to this. It's real quick, and then we'll talk about it.
One of the first meetings I want to have is with President Xi of China, President Putin of Russia, and I want to say, let's cut our military budget in half, and we can do that. And I think we'll be able to do it.
Well, that's fucking cool. That's really all. Now, I've been proven wrong multiple times now. I guess not wrong. I don't think I've ever actually made any like hard and fast like predictions. But I mean, I've definitely been skeptical on whether kind of the nothing ever happens mentality. Like I've kind of had that, but there's been some stuff that's actually happened with the Trump administration since they've come in. There's been some stuff that I just was surprised they did or went for. I'm like, whoa! I'm kind of like pleasantly surprised. So, I mean, I could be proven wrong, but I think this is at the level of like, this is such a level of like the MIC, the military industrial company, like we don't touch that. Like we don't mess with our baby boy there. Like you may do, maybe you might luck up and get something resembling like a 2014 drawback for those who remember that time. I was actually in the military at that time, so that's why it's like pretty prominent for me. I mean, they essentially, really, really leaned on Obama to cut funding there, and they did, but they pulled it like all from personnel. Which, don't get me wrong, I'm like somewhat fine with that. But if you're going to scale down an organization, to just be like just pull it from personnel is kind of the retarded way to do it. So they just end up doing the same thing but with more, and it was really stupid. But anyways, you might get something like that, and because they did the same amount of mission. They just had less people, and just made a lot of disgruntled people. But anyways, maybe they could get something close to that, but I don't really see it. But I could be proven wrong. I very much am super doubtful. But either way, this idea that this rhetoric is out there is kind of astounding. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, apparently Nick Turse wrote an article too that was featured on antiwar.com talking about just kind of the misconception of the peacemaker aspect of things, even though as I'm throwing out an unintentional black pill, I'm still like, you have to realize how much I appreciate any sort of de-escalation on the world stage, especially in regard to foreign policy. But I'm very much under the impression that the presidency really doesn't have too much power to wield inherently anyway. It's just more so this window dressing aspect of public perception and sort of steering the public perception in many ways, which is why the pendulum always swings and back and forth, right? Because you're sort of like I've mentioned before, you're finding that essentially where you land on the ideological two-party delusion paradigm, you're kind of seeing that confirmation bias play out, and each side is getting what they expect in certain ways, which is wonderful. And I will say that at least you have as far as like it's wonderful in terms of at least you do have some sort of accountability in regard to certain certain people who do support Trump are at the very least criticizing his policies in many ways. And I appreciate the hell out of that because it's the only way forward to attempt to make any sort of like, just I'm just a positive redirection from the current status quo in regard to a lot of the policy. But of course, we're in Somalia. We're in these forever wars that just it doesn't matter which presidential administration assumes office. It seems like the playbook is installed, right? And so it's like there is an expectation of what is to be achieved in the geopolitical framework, and so that's why it's like coup d'états aren't going to cease because USAID is defunded, right? It's like I don't that approach at the very least is a little bit naive in my mind because it's just not how things work in the empire, right? Especially so he's much more like a crime boss the way he approaches things in many ways, right? Where it's like, yeah, we'll get out of Ukraine, slowly de-escalate there, but you're going to have to, of course, guarantee access to these rare earth minerals, and which is like we got to get something in return for all this money that we laundered into the country. You know what I mean? I'm like, what the fuck? But still, it's off the back of the Ukrainian people, which has never been a concern whatsoever as far as the U.S. State Department. So. Nah, I don't know, man. Anyway, go ahead, buddy. I'm just looking through
the chat. Let's go through the chat real quick just to say how you. Oh, hey, Joey Poop Bag. I think I just now noticed you. Hello, Doctor in here. Definitely not a guy saying, aren't they just going to build their own Suez Canal? Who's they? What do you mean in this context? What's I don't remember what we were talking about there. Maybe, all right, whatever. My bad. Maybe you're talking about China or something. I can't remember. Dr. Roy said, I'm certain BB is going to have to be forced into compliance every step of the way. I expect lots of delays. Perhaps I am very concerned about this peace process. We'll see. I don't know how they're forcing him into compliance. That's why it's like, it does feel like you're missing a piece of the puzzle. I feel like there are talks behind the scenes, whether that's coming from us or people within his groups, or maybe this is part of some larger sinister plan, or maybe
Iran propaganda. It's kind of ratcheting up here in regard to Iran being on the table. We should just directly bomb Iran. We should attack and target Iran directly. That's the pivot that I was warning about not too long ago.
Although there are people within Trump circles that are saying that, but I wish I could remember. I swear on anti-war there were some things recently where, and he's done some bullheaded moves insofar as brinksmanship and with the what's the word I'm looking for? With the tariffs and stuff, and because he did his full pressure campaign, I think is what he started up against with Iran, because he's trying to get them to denuclearize, but he at the same time was then wanting them to come back to the table, and he did make threats about violence and stuff, but it really did come off to me in his stupid fucking way of I'm trying to make a deal, and I really think if people would just get out of his way and let him, he would probably be content with literally doing basically the Obama deal over again, but then putting a facelift on it and going, look what I did. You know what I mean? Which, I'd be fine with that. That's one of the only good things Obama really did. I mean, I'm sure we could find details within the deal that I might have qualms with, but for the most part, it's these two countries come to a point where hey, you're going to play some game where you're not going to make nukes, and we're going to check on you, even though you weren't really going to anyways. And we'll kind of dial back hostilities. I think it's a great thing, and I think he's made overtures to wanting to do that, it seems to me. But I think his bullheaded, stupid tariff shit pissed off Iran, and so I don't know if it's just the culture there or what. But they did not respond well with that, and they basically just kind of cut him off because he's essentially was trying to play the same games he was playing with South America with them recently. But he did make, I swear he made some statements about not wanting to have violence or this or that. I mean, he did it in a way that was kind of like a backhanded threat, but I do also think that he genuinely, I do think he wants to be seen as a peacemaker. So, but it is a concern that there are so many people within his circles that would be so fucking happy if he would just fucking about face and just be like, fuck you, Iran, we're gonna fucking bomb. There'd be fucking Lindsey Graham would just fucking nut in his pants. There are a lot of people that swim in his waters that'd be happy. So it is We do. There definitely is like I hope he doesn't get a hair in his ass to really go after it. But I mean, it could be completely wrong. I just haven't seen the pivot yet. I mean, just if from like looking at other stuff I've seen, I am concerned about the pivot because I've said that many times. I keep being like, doing the show daily and then coming back and be like, guys, we've got another W, and then having to be like, but be careful because it is like you get all these W's and you're like, fuck yeah, dude, we the best, and then and now you're just like associating yourself with this entity, and so now you have this ingrained bias to want to like knee jerk go along with what this person's doing. So it is kind of like, hey, this is dope, but like still don't be retarded.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a few signs that we are a little too optimistic in regard to the Iranian process, though, because I honestly do think that pivot could potentially take place, as much as I agree with what you're saying, and that, you know what I mean? And
I'm very much like concerned about it. I'm just saying right now, I see it being an avenue that could happen. I just have not seen from the power players. I've not seen those moves yet, but I've seen what could become those.
Remember when we first saw the de-escalation sort of occur in its infancy just recently, with the sort of the return happening and the aid being allowed to flow a little bit more directly, and then but I suggested that, of course, like potentially this was the negotiating tactic of, okay, this perceived de-escalation within the tragic Gaza conflict, to then grant Israel what they truly desire, which is that ultimate pivot to Iran. And then you see yesterday and there's all these reports, not only they're all mainstream media, of course, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, CNN. U.S. intelligence agencies believe Israel is likely to strike Iranian nuclear facilities this year. It's legitimately like being suggested. And how often do we see they suggest that what will occur a month from now?
I think that was part of what was in the back of my head, because I listen to anti-war news every single day now. I've gone to the habit of like listening to Dave every day, so I'm like, I think that was one of the things in the back of my head that I recalled was that situation. I swear, maybe it's hard to keep track of all the different reporting, but I swear there was something that, with that information that came out, there was like Pentagon or essentially the Trump administration stuff that kind of signaled otherwise, kind of like, hey, what the fuck type deal. So I might be wrong, because it is kind of interpreting, just like I kind of was somewhat wrong in my how I guess kind of both of us, and when we were like really thinking the peace deal was going to fall apart. So it's like there's so many moving parts and so many of these things, but I haven't seen it yet, and so I am concerned for sure, but I am definitely hopefully they can get this shit together. But right, let's go through the chat a little bit. I mean, here we go. Doc Tory says Trump seen. So what? Oh yeah,
Firepixie gave me a super chat over here.
Oh shit! Sorry, I didn't mean to close it out. I didn't realize you had a super chat up. Go for it.
No worries. Hey, nothing but love, Firepixie. You know that, supporting the gays. Appreciate
Hell
you.
yeah! Keep in mind, you can for Austin, you on his YouTube channel, you can leave super chats and we will bring it up. I can't do it on mine. I got demonetized a long time ago. But my Rumble, you can do a Rumble rant. I think you can do Rumble rant with Austin's as well. He is also on, although this one's not on Rumble in his right now. But either way, I see Boba, agreeing with me about 2014. It was pretty wild. Eddie as well. I remember the drawbacks. I remember standing port and starboard watches for years. Yes, literally all the cuts came straight from personnel, and like mostly the lower personnel too. So it's like guys that were only making like 40, 50K anyways, but no, all the missions, everything exactly the same.
It reminds me of We Meant Well. What's the name of that dude that goes on with Scott Horton often? I really like him. I used to like him all the time. He used to work for the U.S. State Department and was sent to Iraq. And
Ritter?
Man. Hold on. Shit, man. Let me find it. We Meant Well. But
right.
The whole point being is that there's oh my God, dude. I'm losing my fucking keys. I type so much over here. But
Abrogate D is saying switch feeds just because. Good morning. Yeah, keep in mind we're on both. You can make sure when you pop in here, go like both videos. Just cause, But go ahead, bud.
Oh no, you're good. I just I think it's important to always point out just the bloated budgets and how, of course, like especially in wartime, during wartime policies. You see, oh my God, we might well is what I fucking typed in, but you just Peter Van Buren. I was right, damn it. I was gonna say that as his name, but anyway, he wrote a book called "We Meant Well," and it essentially exposed the bloated budget that was sent to Iraq, and essentially how they were really using it, of course, to launder money in more ways than one. And so, like when the Pentagon was audited, it exposed the U.S. State Department, flowing funds to Iraq, where they're legitimately like, um, you know, they had put down like well, first of all, they're like sponsoring these education programs and all this ridiculous infrastructure that, of course, the reason being he titled the book "We Meant Well" because there were people within the U.S. State Department who honestly seemed to have good intentions when it came to truly like attempting to provide some sort of new age modern infrastructure to Iraq before leaving, really just, of course, another empire building policy. But the point being is that they witnessed that, like, you had toasters that were being ridiculously, toasters, toilets, like these insane prices, right?
Yep.
For and it was just a money laundering operation, right? To effectively just drain the U.S. taxpayer of more of their personal individual funds. So
a lot of it's built into
that's
every little thing too, because the way they do contracts, and also like say like I saw it a lot from the aircraft mechanic side of things, like for example how it goes when they make like say like one of the planes, what like say an F-35 or whatever, when I believe it's Boeing that made the F-35, when they made the F-35 they contracted with the government to create that, and part of the contract is typically, this is from my understanding how they usually are, is that they then require that that now the government can only go through them for parts. Which, I mean, anyone out there who knows anything about cars or anything, can you imagine if like you were only able to attain the parts for your Ford Focus from just the Ford Focus, like the company, or like even that was like specifically you had to get it from there. And then of course, obviously now you're creating essentially a sort of monopoly through this entity, to where now you end up with like bolts, like just a bolt for like a main landing gear or something, and it'd be like $80, and you're like, dude, how? And you're like, well, it's because it's my I'm the only one who procures these for you, and you have to buy for me, and money's not an issue for you, so great. Yeah, we got Robin here saying she's going to Cancun today. Have fun in Cancun.
Oh shit! Hell yeah, Robin.
Yeah. So sorry, go ahead, bud.
Oh no, you're good. It's just this, allegedly there was, We Meant Well. They had like these policies they were attempting to promote for reconciliation, and they were absolutely ridiculous. And you talk about USAID and these ridiculous, things that were financed as far as the Marxist policies that were kind of exported to all these various countries on the world stage to sort of help with the ideological subversion into kind of this new age framework philosophically in many ways, right? Which is what we're seeing, the new age religion that kind of revolves around, this new cultural Marxist perspective on society itself and the culture war. But the point being is that, charged with rebuilding Iraq, would you spend taxpayer money on a sports mural in Baghdad's most dangerous neighborhood to promote reconciliation through art? Like, what the fuck are we doing? How about an isolated milk factory that cannot get its milk to market? Or a pastry class training women to open cafes on bombed out streets without water or electricity? That's We Meant Well, right? Like, it's really one of the greatest examples of, government spending and just off the rails, and no accountability being had whatsoever, and a State Department whistleblower being entirely just demonized, and his career derailed. And it's kind of interesting how they react and threaten and target and punish anyone who has the integrity or the audacity to push back on these absolutely absurd policies that do nothing but further line the pockets of the unelected bureaucrats and this ridiculous oligarchy that is presented as a democracy, as if there's this illusion of choice and accountability. But in reality, the revolutionary class has been placated for how long? We pose no threat to the establishment. I mean, honestly, we don't. The only threat that we pose is through our perception and how we react. And so you can only hope, that people kind of wake up to, the true manipulation of just the social engineering aspect of this, and at least take two steps back and remain skeptical from the current system as it's structured. That's all, because I think that in itself is a limited hangout. These guys
Yeah.
deal in deception, smoke and mirrors at every turn, at every stage. We're intended to believe that there, are warring factions consistently at odds in DC. I don't know how accurate that is. I think it's definitely true, but it's much more as if they, share this common. They really do seem to, have this. At the very least, they share this. I think it's ultimately very important to them to remain clandestine in nature, as far as how it truly functions, and the power brokers behind the scenes. And so really, I think that's when they come together, and you see this bipartisan nature playing out, right? Where you have like a Lindsey Graham, and Kamala Harris thinking the cameras are off, and breaking character from their right. From the political actors, as far as the manufactured personalities that have been constructed for them to, and who knows, man, half of them are, I would say, you already know, brother, like the currency in DC is sexual blackmail for how fucking long, so I'm just very much concerned that we have just oversaturated landscape of compromised political assets that truly just behave according to their puppet master's will at all times. And so they're just doing the bidding of the elite unelected establishment, and that's where you see William Ramsey come into play with the Knights of Malta and these various groups like the Pilgrim Society and the Anglo-American establishment. And you realize that the United Nations was essentially just the tool to facilitate the globalist framework and usher in this dystopian new world order that everyone is apparently under the impression isn't the ultimate goal. It's already been achieved to an extent, because I think it's really been kind of compartmentalized to this point to where, it's kind of already in place, right? And I think that it's playing out in front of our eyes, and that perhaps we are this sort of waning empire, that's anyway, I'm rambling again,
Yeah,
but
you are.
Sorry, bro.
You're
It's
good,
just
dude.
fucking
All right, let's move
interesting.
on to the next step. I was just like, I wonder how many different tangents you'll go on.
You motherfucker.
All right, let's move on to the next clip. This is about like de-nuking. So this is a positive development as well. Once again, doubt it'll happen, but interesting to hear.
Well, I'd like to have that as soon as things settle down. I'm going to have that conference primarily with China and Russia, because those are the two that really are out there, and we're going to have them spend a lot less money, and we're going to spend a lot less money, and I know they're going to do it. They agreed to it. We were talking about de-nuking, de-nuking, and President Putin and I agreed that we were going to do it in a very big way. There's no reason for us to be building brand new nuclear weapons. We already have so many. You could destroy the world 50 times over, 100 times over. And here we are building new nuclear weapons, and they're building nuclear weapons, and China's building new nuclear weapons, and China's trying to catch up because, they're very substantially behind, but within 5 or 6 years, they'll be even. And we're all spending a lot of money that we could be spending on other things that are actually, hopefully, much more productive. Hopefully, there'll never be a time when we need those weapons. If there's ever a time when we need nuclear weapons, like the kind of weapons that we're building and that Russia has and that China has to a lesser extent but will have, that's going to be a very Sad day. That's going to be probably oblivion.
All right. Once again, this is kind of obviously just basically just hey, someone's ignoring Rumble rants. I didn't know there was one. Now I'll check it out. I'll bring it up in a second. But anyways, I mean, I think I don't know if me and you really have much to add to this one. This is pretty much basically all the same stuff from before. I mean, it's pretty much all the same talking points, military-industrial complex, like all the same reasons why this may or may not happen, basically apply to both. They're both military-industrial complex. This is more just specifically nukes. But this is just one of those examples. I think nukes is just one of those examples of where it's like just so obvious, because we're at a degree where it's like you're beyond the threshold where it's like there's no, even if we got to like full on nuclear war between countries, you're more than stocked up. Like, I mean, how many nukes do you need? I mean, like it's pretty transparent. At least with like helicopters, planes, bombs, whatever, you can make. There's a better argument to be made. Obviously, I disagree with it, but about the need for those things. Whereas like a nuke, you're like, dude, like we literally can just already can destroy the entire human race like multiple times over. So, I mean, we're just wasting money to get better in, because it is just what happens. It'll just like every year they'll update the version. Like it'll be like, and I forget too. There's so much bureaucracy that goes into that too. Like how that works. And I remember there was some weird thread I followed about that recently, and just like the amount of like waste that goes into that, and I mean the whole thing is waste, but even like to a degree you wouldn't even think of because the stuff's so old, the methods by which they have to go about doing it. But yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but I mean that's obviously it's worth mentioning. It's a huge story.
Oh,
so
for sure.
Yeah.
The only point that I kind of have to make is just that I heard basically that this is where I wonder how much the president truly understands the policy as it's being kind of put forward in his lap, and then he goes off and runs with it as far as just like introducing the concept to the public, because it seems like adding China to that negotiating agreement as far as the nuclear stockpile, it's basically there was absolutely no reason to even add them onto the agreement, and that it created this trilateral negotiating tactic to where it was unnecessary, because they don't even have the amount of nukes that like they would have to even scale back, right? Apparently they have so few at this time, even though the U.S. State Department and the CIA claim that they've been manufacturing them and developing them, so they have more than the public is aware of. It's still it's interesting, because I wonder how much he understands that potentially even adding China was sort of a backhanded negotiating tactic to kind of derail the process, because Putin himself was like, oh, okay, so China is now involved. Well, why don't we just add Europe too and the UK? Then we can have a real disarmament process take place in a way. So yeah, who knows what's really playing out. And that's why I think the compartmentalized aspect of a lot of the legislation and the policies and executive orders even are influenced by the intelligence community. They have to be, right? Where it's just like this layered operation that they know certain aspects or clauses added into some sort of deal.
These intel guys know what's up. I just on our last appearance with Tinfoil Hat, I've brought this up a couple times because I found it funny, because I accidentally Fed jacketed Mike Benz, which because I mean I think I've told you that you weren't on that episode, I don't think, but I covered a thread. I covered on the morning show the once digging into whether he's a Fed, and I don't know if he is or not, to be honest. I mean, my conclusion was kind of like he does glow a little bit, but who knows? Maybe it's justifiable. Maybe there's reasons to think he is or is not. But it's just I just find it to be funny. I remember on Tinfoil Hat, I got lost in conversation. I really didn't mean to, because I kind of don't like to be the guy who Fed jackets people unless I have some sort of some sort of silver bullet shit. Because I will take that headshot when I got it, but I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna compromise my position with stray fire. You know what I mean? But that's kind of my viewpoint on it. So, but I didn't have it. But I remember we were talking about generational spook stuff or something, and you just get lost in conversation, forget you're even where you're at. Like I'm like, oh, I'm on tinfoil hat, and I was just like, oh yeah, isn't it wild that Mike Pence's fucking granddad worked for James Jesus Angleton? But I just thought it was funny. He went back on Rogan because you were talking about like them getting in their positions, and it's like, and there is something to the idea of like. Here's the thing. Everything I've ever seen come from Ben's has been pretty pretty comports like with stuff we seem to think and is like pretty like on it when it comes to like, you know, the feds and this and that. But then it's like you're like, but maybe that's part of it. Because it's like, you know which way the winds are moving, or certain players out there do, and then you put your people into position knowing like they're going to. Because I mean, like I've been saying for like months, if not years now, that like this podcast game is about ready to blow the fuck up. Like, and like people that are kind of positioned in our like the conspiracy game's about to blow up. Like all the people who are doing that right shit, the good shit. Like I think that's yours going to be, but. I think also there might have been some people, some players, some intel players that may have read these threads ahead of time, just like we did. But they were in a position to have the resources to be able to kind of, you know, rocket their launch essentially a little bit more than me just ramshackling it together with, hey guys, could you give me $1 on a Patreon?
Right.
Which, like, thank you guys, but like, I don't have Fed resources. So
exactly, and Fed resources has to include like algorithmic manipulation,
yes.
and of course like search engines alone. Knowing that Google continues to change kind of the search engine as far as just how it functions, and in many ways they even acknowledge the fact. I found this interesting that clearly they're absorbing our data to create these sort of modern new age weapons, right? Which it's very interesting. They're using not only artificial intelligence, but they're developing, these sophisticated weapons based on are apparently what they're absorbing through the data and the search results. And so it's like, beyond understanding, when I did the DARPA episode, how much it's been manipulated from its infancy, and inherently Google search engine is manipulating the search results. And that's why you can go how many pages through and you're never going to see certain things rise to the top of the search results. And it's just inherently the way that
I think I was listening on Tinfoil Hat yesterday. And I think this is TikTok, so it's not the greatest example of what you're saying, but I thought it was kind of interesting that they live on the show, they looked up Bohemian, not Bohemian Grove. For those who are interested, Bohemian Grove should be happening in a couple months, I think. But either way, Bohemian Grove, not Brohemian Grove, the wholesome version of it. But apparently, if you look it up on TikTok, nothing comes up. Which is even kind of crazier. They brought up the point that's like, that's even crazier considering the fact that Bohemian Grove is a place, so it's like, you like, they kind of wiped that place from the internet. It's like, I mean, I get it that like people associate it with a conspiratorial thing, but it's also like a literal place. So like, and there's probably, I'd assume it's probably some sort of like large campgrounds. There probably are areas that have nothing to do with the Bohemian Grove we think of. So it's like, you just wiped that from existence. So, but speaking of people that, might be saying the right things and might be in there for, might be ushered into that position for one reason or another. Here is, this is from Nicole Shanahan. I'm just using it as a visual aid. I'm not going to actually watch this video because it's too long and I don't care that much. But RFK got confirmed for, what was it, the Secretary of Health or something like that. Which once again, it's cool. I think it's a good development generally, but I've told you guys multiple times my opinions on RFK, and the idea that like, I know everybody will be like, oh, like you'll say, oh, he's compromised. Look how fucking scared he is to say, marry a fucking negative word about Israel. And people will be like, oh, well, this is health stuff. And you're like, you really want me, like, especially when you start understanding the money game, how the money game works with Israel and stuff, and the money players. So if the kind of what I'm driving at here is that if you're like, oh, well, this is only health, this doesn't concern Israel, and like, excuse the fuck out of me, like, you're really willing to put money on that, like, I don't know. There's no Israeli, conflict of interest for some given thing on the health side of things for whatever. Because I mean, the point I'm getting at is there's like a public-private aspect when it comes to Israel and the way the money moves around. And there's these big, mega donors and stuff like. So it's not that crazy that there would be people that would be the same people you wouldn't want to piss off to say a bad word about Israel that would also have reason to leverage that stuff over you for other things that are health related or whatever. Like, it doesn't have to be specifically Israel. Like, these people are also going to have other things that may conflict with their vision. You know what I mean? It may not have to be explicitly Israel. You know what I mean? Like, so I struggle with someone who's clearly terrified to say anything bad about Israel. It's like, and I get it. I get it. Israel may or may not have murdered basically his entire family. It's like, I get where you're coming from, but as I said yesterday, that's your problem, not mine. I'm just providing analysis, and it's like, if you want me to trust this guy, and you're like, he's literally the definition of compromise. Like, that dude. I'll be honest. I have the impression, and I don't know this guy personally, anything. I just get the impression from people that I know that have talked to him and their impression of him and just seeing him on shows. I do get the impression that he probably means well and that he probably is a good person. But in the same breath, I think this dude has probably done crazy fucking dark things in his past. And I think people in positions of power, in very, very shady positions of power, may probably have this leverage over him, and he probably knows this. So literally the definition of what compromised is, and by a entity that I very much do not trust. And I'm not just going to go, oh, well, it's just Israel. And you're like, well, I know that bleeds into so much other things. So, yeah, so I know that's just kind of where I'm at. And then I know a lot of people point out, like, well, Tulsi's kind of the same. I can give Tulsi a little bit more of a break because, I don't know, the degree to which our Bobby was fucking scared of Israel was ridiculous. And also he was coming on the scene when it would have been incredibly popular for him to do so. Whereas Tulsi, I at least can give you the break of, like, you got into politics where it's like no one said a bad word about, even the people who were against, like, say like a Massey or a Ron Paul or whatever, like against aspects of Israel or AIPAC or foreign aid. They wouldn't say anything bad about him. They still don't. So, I mean, it's point being is I give her a little bit more leeway there. But yeah, anyways, I don't know if you have any thoughts. I mean, I got to mention it. I mean, it got confirmed because it was one of those ones people thought were kind of, it was up in the air whether it was going to happen or not. So,
yeah. I think that, I do think, I agree with you. I think that he's potentially compromised, but at the same time, I do also believe that, at least listening to certain people, knowing he's actively in recovery, I think he's like personal friends with, like, Sam and Theo Vaughn and, like, certain people that he's gone to, like, recovery rooms with and stuff, and they really vouch for him as far as his personal character. And it's possible, man. I mean, imagine being a Kennedy,
Oh, yeah.
So, like, my dude, I probably would have fucking died, like, honestly. So, yeah, it's who knows kind of how he's changed for the better later on in life, but at the same time, just seeing him, like, hey, I get it, but seeing him married to the lady, the actress from Curb Your
Cheryl
Enthusiasm,
Hines?
Yeah. And things of that nature, it's just so strange, like, it's very, very weird, especially considering you already know his ex-wife and that story, but
Yeah.
what I'm ultimately concerned with is really just that potentially, he's kind of being exploited because of the public perception around him, and how many people appreciated his first of all, the book on Fauci and his attempted revealing of sort of the threat that truly the shots pose, you know what I mean, as far as, like, health wise, right? And let alone, like, actually restructuring the public health system. Now that's where I'm concerned. I think.
Sorry. This is too funny. Hubert said, "RFK is cool. I mean, he only cracks babies in half and slurps her juices for old man."
Just reminds me.
Hey, I don't think he does
Park.
that anymore. I think he did that in the past. He's moved past that. Okay, that's kind of where I'm at with my feelings on him.
I mean,
But the
it's like
problem is there's people that people that are our enemies that I think are aware of this and have proof of it. Probably.
absolutely for
Yeah.
sure. But I do think that you know, at least he has some value, right? That he offers to the public, and at the very least, if you could remove pharmaceutical advertisements from television, like that would be amazing in general. So again, this is like a pivot in the right direction, but also I think it's also a limited hangout at the same time, because this is why I'm
Yeah.
concerned about the
And as I've
exploitation
said
of his
before in
image.
this show, limited hangouts aren't necessarily a bad thing. A limited hangout, I think, but honestly, I think a limited hangout. I mean, maybe there's certain versions of it you could say is bad, but generally speaking, it's a good thing. It's a essentially seeding of the ground of a narrative. That's what that is.
You're right, and it's
So-
totally essentially it's acknowledging the fact that you lost the public perception in regard to this narrative. So you have to,
Like
back
back up and restate
Exactly.
a different spot in your So
Yeah.
it's like, hey, it makes sense. I mean, obviously, it's not like they're going to come out and be like, "You got us everything."
Right,
So
yeah.
it makes sense.
Exactly. So the
JMS says
restructure for me. Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
JMS says Israel's an international banking proxy state by definition. The UN exists solely to allow Israel to exist, and US/West funds both. You kind of drived at what I was getting at there, the fact they're international banking proxy state. So it's like you have this big money going through there, and then especially if you understand the way this was born, there's so much public-private. Like there literally is money that comes in through Israel, and this is why it gets kind of hard to parse out what's private and what's public when you're dealing with Israel, because they actually kind of play this hide the ball game too when it comes to like what's wrong, because then they go what they're doing wrong, because they go, oh well, that comes from private funds, so the Palestinians are entitled to it because but it's like, yeah, but it's like part of this public private. Anyways, I digress. That gets way too in the weeds of the whole Palestine Israel argument. But point being is they are in the money game, so it's like if you are fucking with the money, which is the pharma game. Like you're fucking with the money. Like there are people with money, stakes invested. It's not that crazy that there are people like, no, I would like children to keep gobbling down battery acid or whatever the fuck is in this shit.
Oh, absolutely.
So
No,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it might not work out. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, it's cool, man. I just I had brought this up, I think, the other day on when I did the morning dump, actually, by myself, and I had mentioned the fact that the teal-linked HHS nominee who threatens the Make America Healthy Again ambitions with biotech stance, right? And baby juices are very acidic and tart. That's why he sounds the way he does. The fuck out of here. Oh my God. But yeah, like my main concern is they use him as the public image that softens the blow as far as, but also here's the other thing, it generates the outrage on the other side of the political aisle. So you see how the left is reacting to his announcement, right? As far as being confirmed. It's like, look, the conspiracy anti-vaxxers got to, they're now running our public health system. Like that is the funniest thing of all time, that's the, personal approach. But as far as just the perception wise interpretation of what is taking place, because here's what I unfortunately think is truly happening. First of all, that might generate more public trust in regard to the people who are very opposed to the vaccine.
Right, Austin, you keep going. I gotta go hit the bathroom. I'm gonna listen to you, so I'm not even gonna miss a beat. I'm gonna listen to my phone while I go to the bathroom.
Okay. Oh yeah.
I just know.
Right,
I know you can. I know you got another. I can at least another 5 minutes. Keep going.
But no, I just think that what really is happening is potentially RFK Jr. is kind of being trotted out and exploited to rebrand the vaccine, really for the purposes of vaccine uptake. So then you have, all of these individuals who naturally distrust the vaccines due to the dystopian policies that happened during COVID. Well, now, due to RFK Jr.'s, confirmation, and now his current position, well, then potentially they could generate more trust in that aspect of the domestic population, to where they could bring you back into the fold as far as just the pharmaceutical really just the ultimate the ultimate goal that is always attempting to be achieved here is just, I think, the pure and utter if you understand the vaccine industry, all their attempting to achieve is an uptake in right in the amount of individuals who will actually take these vaccines. So I think, why would they not attempt to brand these as, oh, these are now safe vaccines due to RFK Jr.'s role
We've
here.
reduced the amount of battery acid
Yeah,
vaccines to a safe level.
Dude, absolutely. And then the thing that makes me most confident that that is potentially happening is that you have this individual, Jim O'Neill, who is apparently he's the Deputy Secretary of Health and Human Services, where he would work under Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And of course, he would essentially function as the chief operating officer of the department, overseeing the day-to-day operations of all sub-agencies, as well as leading the public health emergency preparedness. So the government's policy responses to bioterror events, pandemics, etc. In addition, O'Neill would oversee the development and clearance of HHS regulations and ostensibly be the main implementer of the Make America Healthy Again policy agenda. And this is all apparently O'Neill's business connections are like very concerning, because his previous statements on public health policy strongly suggest that he is not only unlikely to implement the policies, but he may in fact pursue an agenda that stands in direct conflict with the main tenets of the Make America Healthy Again movement, specifically advocating reforming the FDA to deregulate and accelerate the pathway from drug development to legalization. This would notably aid the biotech industry, which has long struggled to get its products approved outside of an emergency-based regulatory paradigm.
Ooh, biotech, you say? I'd be really interested to what extent maybe characters like Sam Altman, Larry Ellison, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, to what extent they're invested in biotech companies. I'm sure probably. I mean, I would assume they probably considered it maybe once or twice. Considered, maybe threw a couple little eggs in a basket to pay off later. I don't know. I mean, you would think. I mean, he seems to be right in their sphere of influence, but I might be wrong.
Investor and
Peter Thiel shit, my bad. Sorry. This is Blame Austin, Fire Pixie. I actually had it ready multiple times, and then he distracted me with rants. I do want to just give a shout out. I did get a Rumble rant from Fire Pixie saying supporting gays over here too. So she dropped. She wanted to be known. She gave me money too. Thank you, Fire Pixie. You're also a patron too, as well, I believe. So I appreciate your support.
Female, 'cause I think I've called.
Yeah, you've been calling her a dude for a while. I mean, I don't know if she's. I mean, I don't know for sure that's a chick, but like. A pixie is like typically a feminine entity, so I just kind of made that assumption based on the name. So I assume maybe even like a redhead if I had to guess. I think I'm probably on the right path. All right, let's move on to the next story. We have Doc Torrey shared this with us. It says so I guess it was a troom, but he was in contact with Parkland shooter. The context here, he had actually already tagged me in something earlier, saying something about like it being a chick. Here is the photo, and actually was, I think, initially being reported, and it might have been the first article as well. This was a girl. Come to find out, I think this is a trans suspect. So I would assume we're about to read the article in a second, but I would assume that this is a boy to girl, and if so, I'll give them some props. I totally saw this photo going around, thought it was just a chick. So hey, good job for pulling it off, I guess. Totally would have fooled me. I mean, I'm not saying you're cute or anything, but like you're like you pulled it off. So props. But anyways, not the shooting. That not props for that. That's big bad. But the whole trans thing, you pulled it off. Not many people do. You did. So congrats on that. But anyways, yeah, I guess he also said too that in this he was in contact with the Parkland shooter. So let's dig into that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm going to just go ahead and guess there's probably like some sort of accelerationist angles here or something. That seems to be the case. Oh, come on. Here's the article.
When did this happen, man?
This just happened. This happened yesterday. So,
really?
Yeah, we got it up right here. 18-year-old trans suspect arrested for plotting Indiana high school shooting. Okay, so plotting. At least we only got to plotting. So here it's from yesterday. Let's keep going. This is from the Post Millennial.
Nashville, you said?
No, Indiana is where. So
Indiana.
Yeah, authorities
where in Indiana? Do you know?
I mean, I'm about to read the articles.
Dude, I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro.
The first sentence.
Right.
Authorities arrested an 18-year-old transgender suspect who allegedly planned to carry out a mass shooting at Mooresville High School in Indiana. Trinity Jamie Shockley of Mooresville was taken into custody Wednesday on terrorism charges and has been booked into Morgan County Jail without bond. The FBI alerted the local police department of the matter on February 11th after receiving a tip that Shockley was planning a school shooting. An individual notified the FBI's Sandy Hook promises say something anonymous reporting system. Okay. Saying that their friend was preparing to commit a shooting in Indiana on February 14th, according to court documents. What an awful name for a reporting system.
Those reporting systems were tied into that school shooting that happened where the local police were keeping the parents from doing. You remember they were like even arresting parents who were attempting to, and they were holding them all outside. They were refusing to go in, and all of that, dude. Apparently that reporting system for school shooters and for like radicalized potential threats, apparently there's and I forget the name of the reporting system, but there's federal involvement at a level where there's essentially this intelligence footprint where they are targeting vulnerable children who show certain characteristics, and then they are utilizing the reporting system because it's much more apparently it's a social concept that's being implemented at the school level in certain districts. And I guess the kids have to have this app on their phone. And so it's a way that they can be deliberately targeted and then sort of, in my opinion, and this is what was reported in regards to that school shooting that occurred where they were holding the parents back, that they were essentially radicalized through that app and the reporting process. And so that alone effectively manufactured this crisis, which is kind of the craziest thing of all time. And again, fits into that framework and that playbook that we talk about so often in regard to these manufactured mass shootings is what they seem to be in many ways. And this guy having an obsession with the Parkland shooter, it's I'm interested to look into this now because anyway.
Yeah. Well, let's keep cracking into it. The informant said that the suspect had ordered a bulletproof vest and had access to an AR-15. And surprise, surprise. February 11th, Shockley reportedly told a school counselor that she had allegedly been sending letters to Florida Parkland High School mass shooter Nicholas Cruz while he's been in prison. It was also reported that Shockley had a heart-shaped locket necklace with a photo of Cruz inside. I don't know why that's weirdly bizarre and funny. Not funny. All right. A search warrant was executed at Shockley's home on February 12th as part of a joint law enforcement operation consisting of Mooresville's police detectives, Morgan County Sheriff's Office detectives, and officers from the Mooresville School Police. Shockley was arrested following the search warrant. Court documents state that detectives found multiple photos of Cruz and two other mass shooters, Dylan Roof, which I believe that was one of the Columbine ones, and then Andrew Blaze, which I don't remember Andrew Blaze, in Shockley's bedroom. Maybe you do, Austin. I don't. Authorities also recovered AR-15 magazines in a box of .40 caliber rounds in the suspect's father's bedroom. Additionally, detectives recovered 3 notebooks in Shockley's backpack, which included professions of love for mass shooters and desires to hurt others. The excerpts found inside the notebook, according to court documents, included, "I just want to be like Elliot Rodger, a mass shooter who killed 6 people in Cali in 2014. I want to hurt others. I hate you all. Die, die, die. I miss Ethan," who's Crumbly. I'm assuming another shooter. I don't remember that person. "We were the same, born 2006, same eyes, boom. Becoming the worst version of myself hurts, but this needs to be done. I love you, Nicholas Cruz. And why can't Nicholas be mine? I need him in my life." Whoa. Yeah, right? According to court filing, Shockley sent messages to people on the messaging app Discord, where the suspect allegedly shared plans for a Parkland Part 2 that had been in the works for a year. The messages also include a photo of 10 AR-15 magazines and plans to purchase a bulletproof vest. On February 10th, Shockley sent a message stating 4 more days. Following the execution of the search warrant, Shockley claimed to an MPT detective during an interview that she was joking and would never do that. She then allegedly told the detective that she wanted to be a gun activist to help people get out of that mindset. Shockley also claimed she was bullied at school. Yeah, I mean, guys, it's always just joke. Jokey joke. Morgan County prosecutor's office has charged Shockley with 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder and 2 counts of intimidation and threat to commit terrorism. All right, last paragraph. The school's district's mental health chief told authorities that Shockley sought mental health resources several times since her freshman year. However, Shockley's father allegedly denied his child access to the resources. The district official said that Shockley's father did not believe in mental health treatment, nor did he take Shockley's conditions seriously. This is a breaking story. Whatever, I don't need to read that part. But yeah, interesting. Obviously, I feel like there's probably more information to come. I would recommend keeping an eye on BX's content because it seems like something she's probably. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if she's dug into it a little bit. Considering the connections to all the other shooters, I would not be surprised if there's some sort of web of connections to be had there. That you can play with, and the Discord stuff is so yeah. Also, by the way, confirmation: Fire Pixie has a vagina. So was born with the ability to have children.
My bad, Fire Pixie.
Yep. Let me see. Let me roll through the chat real quick, and then we can talk about that. So I would like to know if these women to men trannies are taking testosterone. Well, I don't think it's a woman to man. I don't think. I mean, I don't even know they said specifically if it's a woman to man. I just assumed looking at this thing that that was a man Trinity. I don't know. There's nothing that says specifically. I just assume that's a. I mean, I struggle to believe that's a chick trying to be a dude.
Whoa, dude! Did you know this Trinity Shockley apparently was oh my God, was hit at a bus stop and badly injured, recovering at one point. So apparently she was hit by a bus in Mooresville at one point as well. Yeah, this is interesting. And it was the FBI tip that thwarts the alleged Valentine's Day high school massacre. I'm going to look into this for sure, brother.
Wait, so she got hit by a bus and sorry, I missed that last part. I was looking at the chat. I zoned out. What did you say? So something about the massacre? Was there a connection there?
Oh, no, just the FBI tip thwarted the teen's alleged Valentine's Day massacre. But
Okay.
I'm just saying that the fact that when she was 15, 3 years ago,
Yeah.
she was hit by a bus while crossing the road to get to her school bus in Mooresville. Yeah, anyway. It was an alleged drunk driver that hit Trinity Shockley. That's strange, man.
She forgot to say in Minecraft. Yeah. Alan says it's got to be a schizophrenic pill the CIA gives them. Yeah. Oh, we got another Rumble rant. 1 second. Let me bring it up. Another Rumble rant. It's Fire Pixie again. It says, I was born with a uterus and I still have it. I can prove it by becoming incredibly emotional and irrational. It's my damn birthday weekend. Pay me attention. LMAO. Everyone pay attention to Fire Pixie. She's the greatest, the most beautiful woman I know. She's the best. She's the bee's knees, the cat's meow, the tiger's pajamas, or whatever the fuck the saying is. But yeah, all right, cool. Let's go into the next. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. I think this is like very much like a 2B 2C kind of thing with that. I think there'll be more interesting information that'll come out later. Now here's another one that I thought would be a fun one for us to go into. This ties into. This is where Scientology and connects in with the BlueBeam, which connects into weirdly like a religious thing because. I haven't watched it, but I know a lot of people were really excited about this Chris Bledsoe guy that went on Sean Ryan's show recently. And Chris Bledsoe is this guy that, from my understanding, I believe he's been for like years, if not decades, supposedly been visited by UFOs. I think there's even like videos of him supposedly calling them down or some shit. And there's some interesting connections to be had there. I know he's super religious too, and so he like claims that some of this comes from some sort of aspects of Christianity, and somehow there's so anyways, this very much ties into like Nephilim shit type stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if Raven's already probably tied down because I've seen him already looking into because this ties into Crowley as well. But because I've seen him already talking about like the egg and Crowley, so I'd be surprised if he hasn't already made this connection or seen this. But if not, I mean, I don't know. Hey, let him know this is out there because this is definitely something he'd take interest in. This says, this is the God. This is from Red Panda Koala. This is a God of love. Oh wait, do I have the thing up real quick? Oh yeah, I do. Okay, cool. This is the god of love to whom the blood ritual ceremony was dedicated. Since doing my research, I have seen a copy of the blood ritual and is indeed addressed to Hathor, which I don't recall, like, I don't know what he means specifically there. One early Dianeticist asked Hubbard how he managed to write Dianetics, the modern science of mental health, in 3 weeks. Hubbard said it was produced through automatic or I know it's automatic writing. I was trying to say autonomic, but I think that's wrong. I'm retarded. Automatic writing dictated by an entity called the Empress. L. Ron Hubbard thought the goddess Hathor was his guardian and wrote Dianetics. Chris Bledsoe believes, quote unquote, the lady is Hathor, which I'm going to have to provide some more context on what the lady is. Here's a picture of Hubbard. Here is this Chris Bledsoe guy with this lady figure behind him, which we'll get more into that. Here is expounding on the whole blood ritual thing I just said a second ago. Sorry, I got to expand that. Also, stop it. Sorry. All right, here we go. Also under court seal was a document with the tantalizing title, The Blood Ritual. The title was Hubbard's own. Okay, so that thing I mentioned before, that was something that Hubbard had written. This document was apparently so sensitive that no part of it was read into the record. The Scientology lawyer asserted that a deity invoked in the blood ritual is an Egyptian god of love. Parson had mentioned Hubbard's guardian angel, the Empress, which Parsons is what? Isn't he the glowy motherfucker, if I recall correctly? Didn't he have connections to Crowley? Yeah.
Him,
Yeah.
dude, they're the ones that
Yeah.
were in that OTO Renegade Lodge, and they were fucking jerking off on these tablets and trying to,
As you do when the boys get together.
fucking crazy.
Nibs Hubbard says his father, who named his kid Nibs, that's funny, also called his guardian angel Hathor, or Hathor. Hathor is an Egyptian goddess. I almost kind of wish Jules was here because he probably would have an opinion on this. I bet you this ties into his Sumerian, Nephilim stuff or whatever, Anunnaki or whatever. The daughter and mother of the great sun god Amun-Ra, the principal Egyptian deity. She was depicted as a winged and spotted cow feeding humanity, a goddess of love and beauty. But she had a second aspect, not always mentioned in texts on Egyptian mythology, that of the avenging lioness, Sekhmet, a destructive force. One authority has called her the destroyer of man. This is the god of love to whom the blood ritual ceremony was dedicated. Since doing my research, I have seen a copy of the blood ritual, and it is indeed addressed to Hathor, Nuit, Re, Mammon, and Osiris are also evoked. Oh, I read that retarded. I'm sorry. Let me reread that because I changed the meaning accidentally a little bit there. Since doing my research, I have seen a copy of the blood ritual, and it is indeed addressed to Hathor. Period. I read that as if there was a comma. My bad. Nuit, Re, Mammon, and Osiris are also invoked. So it's addressed to Hathor. The other ones are invoked. The ceremony consisted of Ron and his then wife mingling their blood to become one. Arthur Burks has left an account of a meeting with Hubbard before the Second War where Hubbard said that his guardian angel, a smiling woman, protected him when he was flying gliders. One early Dianeticist asked Hubbard how he had managed to write Dianetics, the modern science of mental health, in 3 weeks. Hubbard said it was produced through automatic writing dictated by an entity called the Empress. In Crowley's tarot, the Empress card represents, among other things, debauchery, and Crowley also associated the card with Hathor. So there's your Crowley tie-in. To Crowley, Babylon was a manifestation of the Hindu goddess Shakti, who in one of her aspects is also called the destroyer of man. It seems that to Hubbard, Babylon, Hathor, and the Empress were synonymous, and he was trying to conjure his guardian angel in the form of a servile homunculus he could control the destroyer of man. So I think you guys are going to see, we're going to go a little bit more. Here's a video I'm going to play in a second, kind of going to the lady thing to tie it back into Bledsoe, because I didn't really make that connection. But I think you guys might be able to kind of see the fucked up shit going on here, because it ties into BlueBeam, but then ties it into Christianity while also kind of weirdly being an inversion of it. Because I'm not religious, but I know the Christian people out here, this. Yeah, this is concept. It gives you the impression of Christianity, but in reality, all you're doing is essentially falling into a fucking Crowley ritual, essentially. Like,
Dude,
you're
it's
basically
the
doing what, like, essentially Thelema for him, basically.
yeah, it's the
Yeah.
Aeon of Horus, the age
Yeah.
of Aquarius. It's the new age. It's the inverted moral
Mhm.
landscape. It's every single aspect of the occult framework that they're attempting to achieve. That's what harnessing our energy is about, I think, in the ultimate evil. That whole process, it's really the philosophical nature of it, right? The subconscious, um, exploitation of our really our focus, right? When we focus our energy into certain narratives, I think that within the occult framework, that is valuable within that framework, and that they attempt to achieve that at all times. And the egg concept with the Crowley occultist, as far as just like the entity that he allegedly channeled and had an interaction with, it was like this, of course it was all symbolic with the egg, right? It's all in the egg is what he was told, allegedly, right, by the entity. Lamb, I believe, is what it was, which is Tibetan for way or path, which Crowley said had the numerical value of 71, or nothing, no thing, a gateway to the void, and a link between the star systems of Sirius and Andromeda. Brother, that's the order of the solar temple, right? Right? That's what that was. An exodus to the star Sirius. That is Neo-Templar. That is the Templar Renaissance.
Real quick,
Lamb
sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, but
No,
just
you're
to
good,
back
man.
up on the trans thing, just to clarify for people out there, Dr. Ori, I guess, found some, I don't know where you found, I'm going to take your word for it, it's not like you have a source, but saying it's a female identifying as male. So I was wrong. They didn't pull it off. So there was just a chick that didn't look at all like a dude saying they're a dude, I guess. So yeah, I take back all the nice things I said about you, successfully pulling off your transition, because you didn't. You look like a chick. You're a chick.
Right.
You don't look like a dude at all. You just look like a kind of homely chick. That's about it.
Real.
It looks like you need to brush your hair. That's about it. All right. Yeah. Happy birthday. Fire pics there. Everyone's saying in the chat. But yeah, I got Landy saying the Bledsoe thing is weird. I used to listen to his son, Ryan or Chris. Can't remember. I get them mixed up. I can't believe he went on Sean Ryan. Now I'm very suspicious. Saying he's glad to see you here. One of his favorite researchers. And then we got Alan saying that I guess he's saying they stole everything from the Thalamites. Basically, only read like a couple books and kifed it all. City Breakdancer Man says late to the stream, but I appreciate you guys. Hell yeah, another $2 for Austin. Yes. So, and it was Jack Parsons and Ron who started his wife and Ron who started the Scientology. Yeah, isn't that right? Didn't Parsons' wife run off with like Hubbard or some shit? Oh, did you leave? Oh, you left. Man, you didn't even announce it, you dickhead. I hope he's listening. All right. Anyways, crap, accidentally. Yes. I'm pretty sure, if I recall correctly, yeah, I want to say Parsons' wife ran off with Ron or something. You guys let me know in the chat if that is correct. Is that correct?
That is exactly what happened.
Yeah, okay. I thought that was part of the lore, because I remember it's like one of the funny parts of it. You're like, I just ran off with your bitch.
Dude, it's so crazy. They were doing these sex rituals in the desert, and I'm pretty sure Parsons was the one where when he died, they secured members of their cult group secured his ashes, I believe. No, they stole his body from the morgue. I remember now. Yeah, so they go down, they steal his body from the morgue, and they take him out to the desert, and they had like this occult funeral pyre. It's super crazy story, but yeah, I'm telling you, man, like the foundation of NASA is drenched in the OTO and the occult. Like it's fascinating. They were personal friends with Aleister Crowley, like it's fascinating stuff, man. And especially since that Pasadena Lodge, that's where Manson was passing through with the Process Church and their doctrine at the time, which clearly directly ties into the Fort Bragg murders, by the way, which I had no understanding that there was a true footprint of the Process Church there that was potentially, not the primary cause of the murders of Jeffrey McDonald's family, but I believe that it was an overlapping layered murder basically that took place because the number one priority was just because Jeffrey McDonald was considered to be a snitch by these heroin users and drug dealers at the time who were distributing heroin from Fort Bragg, the military base, but they were members of a cult. And people didn't realize that, and there were different names that were floated out at the time because apparently Helena Stokely was too scared to mention the Process Church. But it's crazy stuff because it inevitably turned into like her initiatory rite, and they did a fertility death ritual, and they targeted the firstborn child because apparently within this occult framework, the firstborn child, you can harness more energy. There's something more, they prioritize them for some reason. But then also if you're pregnant, right? Yeah, I really believe Jeffrey McDonald's innocent, Fire Pixie. I honestly do. Like, it's one of the craziest stories I've ever exposed myself to, and the finer details of it will convince you. I truly believe like it was a railroad and miscarriage of justice. Manufactured evidence against him. Prosecutors who legitimately, after he was initially in 1970, that he got off on the charges. Obviously, the military found him to be completely innocent, and he believed that obviously the CID had conducted a corrupt investigation, and apparently, hey, Fire Pixie, the episode's coming, okay?
Yeah.
So you're gonna get the evidence, all right? So back
Need some
off.
proof to change your mind. You guys stand by. He's going to provide the argument. All right, Austin, I want to move on to this next video. I got to pee anyway, so it's kind of work, so I can play the video while I run to the bathroom. But yeah, this is where I think we'll get a little bit more explanation of his side of things. I'll read this real quick. It says DIA, NASA, CIA, other agencies, everybody wanted to get close to him. He met the lady, and not many people meet the lady. Retired CIA officer Jem Semivan says multiple intelligence agencies are interested in Chris Bledsoe and his experiences, particularly because of his interactions with an entity referred to as the Lady, which, as we just kind of we just talked about the Hathor character and kind of the ties into it and how it looks like maybe this is Hathor. But all right, we're going to go and play this. All right.
I just think they're a great all-American family, but when Chris went through, and I believe every word he tells me, and about this, and not only do I believe every word he tells me, he attracted the attention of a lot of people: DIA, NASA, CIA, other agencies. Everybody wanted to get close to him. Everybody wanted to know as much as information as they possibly can, because his experience it took in not only the classic abduction scenario, because he had missing time, right, where he had no idea what was going on, right, but he also met the entities themselves, and he also met the lady.
Yeah,
and not many people meet the lady. And I think, and the lady is an element in all of this that really hasn't been explored very much. I will tell you that in some circles it's taken very, very seriously, but it hasn't been explored. The Catholic Church looked at it, because a lot of the sightings, Medjugorje, Fatima, Lourdes, they were all the lady appeared. None of the children that saw any of this ever claimed it was the Virgin Mary. It was just the lady. It was just a lady who showed up.
Right.
Yeah. And
ooh, I thought that was interesting. He mentioned the Virgin Mary, that he's like bringing that angle, because and then I don't know. I mean, maybe this was reaching, but we were talking about Knights of Malta recently, so it's like, yeah. I mean, that kind of ties in. All right, let's keep playing this.
I doubt the Virgin Mary had blonde hair and blue eyes. She was Semitic. So, and of course, the lady would lie, and the lady, would scare the living hell out of them, and fire and brimstone sometimes lovely messages. A typical abduction scenario where these beings come to people and they tell them stories. They have a line about the environment, and things along those lines. But they're generally, there's a trickster element to it. There is a physical, not very nice physical element to it. There's a very strong sexual element to it. It's not, I mean, sexual is homoerotic in some cases.
All right, yeah, that's a lot there. I just find this particularly interesting. We've been talking kind of about the BlueBeam stuff, and this kind of weirdly wraps so many things into itself, and it like really makes so much sense coming from a perspective of these feds doing shit. You know what I mean? Like,
the lady is the goddess to whom the blood ritual in the Babylon working was dedicated.
Yep.
L. Ron Hubbard claimed his guardian angel was Hathor, aka the lady. Yeah.
Yeah, and then now keep in mind, I feel like this was one of the episodes you made it. If not, whatever, I've definitely covered it on my on the morning show. And you may have as well. I know when they like recovered that egg or whatever, there was that. Remember I'm pretty sure you were with me. They were talking about like the feelings that it evoked. Remember that bug-eyed method that fucking was like, and it like was describing like a religious experience and like, and they even mentioned like right? Yes, so it is. And the feminine, which, I mean, it is kind of hard. Like, isn't like some people, I mean, I've never gone this, I know a lot of people will say, like the conspiracy people will say, like, that's what Catholicism is when you go, like, to all the levels up. It's just like a goddess worship thing when you get to the top or something. I mean, obviously, like, you can, at the base level, you can make the claim because of the whole Mary stuff. But, I mean, I've heard claims that when you get up to, like, the Opus Dei and above, that it really becomes like, yep, we're worshiping the feminine divine now, like, that type thing. Right. Obviously, I've never really dug too much into those, but it is just weird. There's all those threads that kind of seem to kind of come together a little bit. Interesting. So, yeah.
I'm not sure who Edgar Casey is. I'm gonna have to look into this because it ties in with the lady and the Sphinx in the Star Regulus. Is that what it's called? So Chris Bledsoe claims that the lady told him that humanity would be given a new knowledge on Easter 2026 when the Star Regulus was in the gaze of the Sphinx.
Yeah, I remember watching the video. He was talking about at 20. I thought I had saved it, but I couldn't find the bookmarks this morning. But yeah, there was a video of him talking about like 2026 Easter, like essentially shit. He basically gave us the time.
It's so crazy, man. Edgar Casey allegedly, this aligns perfectly with his vision, prophesied that a hall of records would be discovered beneath the Sphinx, unveiling profound knowledge to humanity. He indicated that the revelation would occur when significant celestial alignments take place, potentially around the year 2026. This imposition lies as the sun rises from the waters. The line of the shadow or light falls between the paws of the Sphinx that was later set as the sentinel or guard, and which may not be entered from the connecting chambers from the Sphinx's right paw, until the time has been fulfilled when the changes must be active in the sphere of man's experience. What the fuck?
Wild shit.
Hey, man, it's all of the occult. Like, this is truly just perfectly within the framework of Aleister Crowley and the OTO as well. So the age of Aquarius is upon us.
Yeah, weird shit, dude. All right, here's moving on to the next topic. I have Rage Child shared something with us. I said Myron is probably controlled op, but this is interesting because we probably won't get the truth since Israel is involved. The context being a tweet from Myron Gaines here. I will say on the probably controlled op, I have not looked into Myron. And I know there's all these people, all these content creators out here. People are like, this person's a Fed, that person's a Fed, and like, I know we were just talking about the whole Benz thing a little bit ago. I don't really follow these people's content enough. Like, I don't consume Myron Gaines content or Mike Benz content, so I don't know enough about these people aside from like when I see viral videos here and there. So I've not looked too much into that. If any of you guys have something that you want me to cover it, feel free to send a thread or whatever. I'm happy to look into it, but I know nothing about that side of things. So just want to be clear, making no claims one way or the other about whether Myron is a Fed or some shit. I don't fucking know. Don't know, don't care. Because, I mean, he just, doesn't he make fun of women or something? I don't even know what his whole shtick is. But he says, let me get straight. A Zionist who changed her name to hide her Jewish heritage is overseeing the declassification of JFK documents that Israel has been trying to keep classified for 60 plus years. Good God, we will never officially get the entire JFK file declassified. And then he's like, quote tweeting this, thing of somebody kind of being like, oh, you're blackpilling, and when we're getting this hot broad doing all this stuff. No, I did talk about the name change thing yesterday. That's kind of whatever. Really, the only reason I really brought this up is because, for one, you guys tagged me, and it kind of gave it an excuse for us to bring this up. Because I thought this was a good little video we could watch. This is her giving more explanation on what this thing is, so we can kind of give them a little bit more of a fair shake of what they're trying to do. I watched this earlier, but I was going to go full spoiler. I still think this is like probably some sort of way to bureaucracy, dog and pony show, obfuscate things, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. I still get that feeling because this
really
isn't necessary. Just drop the fucking documents. But
Sam Tripoli told me last night that she's a stripper and had a stripper name, dude.
probably she had some sort of Amhofer or something. I covered it yesterday. She changed her name. It was like she had like change her name because it was like she was like originally German. I don't know, whatever. I forget. It was like German, but it was Jewish or something. I forget.
What's her full name again? Tell me her full name. I always forget her name.
Anna Paulina Luna. I forget what it was. It was I can't even remember what the fuck her name was. But yeah,
Brad Bankley said she had a nip slip as well, so we should look that up.
I mean, she's cute. I'll give her that. But it's like I don't fucking need you. I mean, like, if anything, it almost makes it feel more obvious when you throw a hot chick in front of this. You're like, hey guys, you're getting all this cool stuff, and it's coming from a hot chick. And you're like, I think you're blowing smoke up my asshole.
like a straight Zionist too, if I remember.
But let's watch this video and like her saying, kind of giving more of a shake. We I think watched a video on them like announcing it recently, but we'll get a little bit more of an idea because of what they're claiming their role is to be here. So let's go ahead and play it.
The Task Force on the Declassification of Federal Secrets has been organized under the House Oversight Committee and represents a historic step towards transparency and delivering answers to the American people. President Trump has already taken steps to deliver to the American people information that for far too long has been kept under the federal government's lock and key through classification. Under Executive Order 14176, President Trump has directed the federal government to prepare reports regarding the declassification of records regarding the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. The task force will also examine agencies' knowledge and possession of documents regarding other areas of significant public interest, including UAPs, the origins of COVID-19, the Epstein client list, and details surrounding the death of Osama bin Laden in Operation Neptune Spear. Our first hearing is March and will focus on the assassination of President Kennedy. We have already engaged with relevant agencies to provide briefings this month regarding the universe of documents connected to these areas of interest. Upon receiving these briefings, we'll move immediately to review documents and, if necessary, earmark them for release to the American people. The task force will travel as necessary to conduct research and meet with relevant witnesses and experts who may also be called to speak in a public setting. We will work closely with the committee to provide transparency through hearings, reports, and the release of documents. It's important to note that we don't have documents yet, and we also don't hold declassification authority. The task force seeks to operate with coordination with the administration to ensure that the American people receive the documents needed to answer questions that we have been all asking for far too long. We will regain the trust of the American people through transparency.
Well, consider me skeptical, but I just wanted to share that because I do think it gave a better. We talked about this and we kind of shit on it, rightfully so. Recently, kind of like, hey, just give us the fucking documents. But I do think maybe, as hearing this, you kind of get a better idea of what I think they're thinking they're trying to do here. I mean, especially where this is such a wide umbrella of different things, I think I'm kind of seeing what they're trying to do. It sounds like the idea is they're rolling one out at a time. Say the JFK one comes soon, they're already talking about how they have people they're going to interview. It sounds like it's more of like a public hearings thing. So it is a dog and pony show, but it's like, sounds like it might not be too bad of a dog and pony show because you take each one of these separate issues, you focus in on bringing key people. It'll kind of make it so it's great chum for people like us that we can kind of use these as jumping off points to talk to people about these sort of things. So I think there might be something to that. It sounds like they're implying their role is to put pressure on them to release stuff as they're supposed to. But as she's insisted multiple times, I've seen her online because everyone's giving her shit like just release documents. She's like, they're going to, and that have nothing to do with that. Like, is essentially what it sounds like, that they have nothing to do. The only part they have to do with that is if these people aren't, they're supposed to, I guess, make it more public that, look, these people aren't doing it. So I mean, don't be wrong. I have I'm interested to see how this actually plays out. But to give them a fair shake, this seems to be how they're portraying it. So it sounds like they're kind of being open that this is kind of a dog and pony show that's toothless, but it is at least like, hey, we're rolling this out. We're doing public hearings, so this will be bringing it out more in the public. Which, I mean, whatever. I guess it'll make it so it gives us more chances for people like us, like podcasters, to kind of be able to jump off of it to make points to people. So I don't know. I mean, I still think it's probably going to end up being pretty hugely fake and gay, but there might be aspects of, cool and based. I don't know,
It seems right in the line of false transparency, but, it's also anything of any real interest that has, in my mind, would be a smoking gun. It's all going to be redacted anyway. Beyond that, here's the hilarious part. Sam was 100% right. And so was Brad. Apparently, she was like an influencer as well. But apparently, what had happened, there's a document.
He was wrong. She was a bartender at a strip club. All right.
Bullshit.
She
worked
as
a
diet whore, not a full-on whore. Okay.
Club. No, she was not a bartender there. She was a stripper at the Red Rose Gentlemen's Club. She apparently has even made the statement that she was allegedly poisoned by Roger Stone, which is fucking weird as hell.
Probably was.
You're right. I know. But you look into it, and at the age of 19, she joined the Air Force and served as an airfield manager for almost a decade. After leaving Air Force, she worked as a model and also worked as a dancer at the Red Rose Gentlemen's Club in Fort Walton Beach, which was on the no-go list or something. Which I can't
airfield manager is kind of just like a pretty generic job, so it's not a spooked out job or anything. I'll add that. I know what that is. So, I mean, I don't know what she. I wouldn't be surprised if she got like senior positions later to do some more spooky stuff. Right. But that on its face, I just want to throw that out there since I have knowledge of what an airfield manager is. It's not really that spooky of a job. It's just so.
Well, it's definitely she seemed to have had which who doesn't
anything more than like this stuff, like the
right,
like
exactly.
That's probably more of the spooky stuff. Because like this, honestly, this kind of reminds me more of like the Madams stuff, where it's like former strippers that somehow they also have some sort of ties to the military that end up getting super clicked up. You're like, oh wow, what a weird confluence of connections, and see how it's kind of weird how this works out for you.
Exactly, and the problem is there's like connections to organized crime at this gentleman's club, and so like that definitely raises red flags for me, especially considering her apparently she was her father was like selling meth, and her mother raised her with government support, obviously, so she had like an interesting childhood with her family was definitely splintered, and apparently they were never married anyway. But it turns out that she had attended at least 6 high schools, but anyway, she inevitably became a stripper at this Red Rose Gentlemen's Club, and soon after that became a popular Instagram model and influencer after her video about human trafficking on the Mexican border went viral. So I wonder if that's the one where she just had a nip slip and no, but honestly, it's like, how can we take any of this seriously, man? Like, it's just so difficult this is ridiculous. Like, this is a pretty face that you can trot out to kind of rebrand public perception. And hey, it works. A lot of people fall for it. I mean, people actually believe true disclosure is going to take place. Good fucking luck, man. Yeah. They aren't solving the JFK assassination. That's ridiculous, man. Like we already have anyway. So just go and look at our episodes about the RFK assassination and shit as well, because it's effectively been proven who was involved. And Howard Hughes was one of the individuals running plausible deniability for all these dual loyalty having intelligence operatives who were in bed with literal organized crime hitmen, and they're utilizing them to essentially commit these assassinations. They're professional hitmen who were running executions for the CIA through organized crime for plausible deniability. That it's legitimately been proven, and so it's just about being exposed to the details and realizing the official narrative is smoke and mirrors created for public deception. That's what it's all about,
Well, with that, I mean, it looks like we're getting deceived in a nice way. I like this sort of deception if we're getting deceived. This is from Patrick Webb. It says, breaking, Doge officials have just entered the IRS building. This was yesterday, and I've seen other reporting to back this up. So yes, it looks like Doge did enter the building. Now, what does to come of this? I don't know. I will say, as I've said, caveated before, I've been pleasantly surprised by other things that have happened where I didn't think would. So who knows what will happen here? I mean, I would be incredibly astounded if they pulled something off like they did with USAID with IRS. But who knows? We'll see. But with that on the side of the revelations coming out of Doge and stuff, this came from actually one of me and Austin's buddies. One of frequent caller in on Already Dead. He shared this to me right before the show, so I'm glad he found this. This is an exclusive. Shocking Doge investigation reveals U.S. government's long history of financing Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and ISIS. But let's be real. If you've been paying attention, you knew this already. But it is kind of cool that we're kind of getting a little bit more confirmation here. So let's read this real quick. A bombshell investigation by the Defense Oversight and Government Ethics Committee, DOGE, has forced Congress to confront the U.S. government's decades-long history of financing terrorist organizations, including Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and ISIS. Which I will say some of those have been things that were basically confirmed to one degree or another, and I think there are some of those ones that weren't. I'll be honest, it's kind of hard to keep track of which one's which because they all just kind of bleed together, and let's be real, they all glow. So it is kind of like Al-Qaeda, Taliban, ISIS. It's kind of like just the same thing but with a facelift, it feels like, So that's why it's kind of hard to keep track of which is which. But the findings revealed during recent congressional hearings detail how taxpayer dollars are funneled through USAID and other channels to groups directly hostile to American interests. Shocking Doge investigation exposes billions in U.S. taxpayer funds sent to terrorist groups. $697 million annual funding to Afghanistan. Despite the Taliban's takeover in 2021, the U.S. sent $697 million in Afghanistan in 2024 alone, including $534.7 million via USAID. So we were still sending money over to them during or after the takeover. So, I mean, we still sent them almost $500 million, or over $500 million, actually. Actually, almost $1 billion is what it looks like. Weekly cash shipments, an additional $40 to $80 million in physical cash is flown into Afghanistan every 7 to 10 days with no oversight on its distribution. That's wild. Taliban martyrs welfare. Families of Taliban fighters killed attacking U.S. troops receive stipends, while families of American casualties get nothing, according to CIA whistleblowers. I mean, that sounds like CIA slop, to be honest. USAID programs fuel extremism. Funds labeled for initiatives like the Women's Scholarships Endowment, $60 million a year, and Young Women Lead, $5 million a year, are diverted to terrorist training camps in madrasas linked to ISIS, Khorasan, and Boko Haram. Representative Scott Perry said, if our enemies designed a foreign aid program to undermine America, they couldn't create a scheme more effective than USAID. Congress admits systemic failures. The DOGE report highlights how USAID, established in 1961, has strayed into terrorism. Taliban extortion, okay, now it's just repeating itself. But I thought this was interesting. This came out. I mean, we kind of already knew about this already. I mean, it's kind of repeating itself throughout this thing, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. But it is interesting, this sort of money. I will say, though, I can already feel the flavor in this. It seems like it's been spinned a little bit. There was a tweet from Elon that they almost brought into the show today, but I mean, there's not really. I can just go and let you know. It was something along the lines of, he said something like Uniparty, essentially related to this. He's like, essentially sounds like this is all just some big Uniparty grift when it comes to like USAID, which I shit on him recently for making a left-right thing. So I do want to say that's an advancement. And it's funny too, because like people in our circles will make fun of people for, the whole like, oh, you faggot with the Uniparty shit. And there is truth to that. It's like there's levels. You're like, you get past the whole like, oh, it's only the left or the right. Then you get to it's the Uniparty. And then you can at least be like, they both suck, but like this one at this point in time sucks better. Because like there's almost like this libertarian mind broken thing where they get into like, well, they're all the same. It's all the Uniparty. And like, they're not all the same. They're still different, but they're like, there's something to the Uniparty concept. So I kind of feel that flavor coming through here, that it's going to kind of get twisted to be as I mentioned with the CIA slop, that's going to get turned into some shit like that. Like look at the left with all these, with the women's scholarship endowment, Young Women Lead. Look how the left took these funds and how corrupt the left is and how tied into terrorism they are. They took their woke stuff and it fueled terrorism. Like that's how it's going to get framed, as opposed to no, like let's be real. If anything, this is probably like just feds that don't give a shit what the flavor is that are putting this shit into place. Like it's not this whole like left right thingy. Like really, like, and so. But anyways, any thoughts, Austin? I wanted to share that before we wrap for today.
Yeah, man. I think when you realize kind of how the infrastructure has been put into place and how USAID was funding the UNRWA and these various UN agencies that were essentially, they say funding ISIS, but USAID was effectively funding and financing the beheading videos that were taking place and being produced by the UK production companies, right? Which it really makes me, everyone should be aware of that by now, that of course, these boogeymen that are put forward in the public spotlight, right, are usually always typically manufactured by the state to create this false misconception and drive policy, and create, of course, what are they consistently attempting to do? Manufacture consent. And that is the ultimate goal that they're attempting to achieve at every turn. So, I refuse to, obviously I'm going to remain skeptical, and they will not be able to manufacture my consent in any way because I don't believe in government policy in general. So, like, honestly, man, I'm just, I'm not really phased by at this point, the false prophets that everyone is just so desperate and ready to embrace. I get it. We're in a place where, truly the desperation is at an all-time high, right? For something to change and for as far as just.
So we got to reestablish trust in government.
Exactly. And I think that that's potentially what is happening, but don't get me wrong. This is the most entertaining presidential administration, and I'm having fun. So, it's like,
there's something to be said there, and the idea of like when a government's like, we want to reestablish trust in the government, and like it's simultaneously good and bad. It's good when the government, I think, is trying to reestablish your trust, especially if it's like by actually doing the good things. That's cool. But at the same time, you should be intelligent enough to remember those bad times. And keep in mind that technically, let's be real, the government at its core, all it is bad. So this good that I'm talking about is just them doing less of the bad. That's all it is. They still suck. Like they're overall, they are suck. Like if something's good it's not that they're good, it's a lack of suck. You know what I mean? Like that's all it is. So like, that's the way you got to look at it. But I do think it's interesting. It's like when it's good for them to try to reestablish trust, but you should be intelligent enough to not trust them. Let them play that game of trying to get your trust. Maybe even string them along that like, well, maybe if you try a little bit harder, you'll get my trust. But
exactly.
But don't ever really give them their trust. Don't be stupid. Like, don't be an idiot. I mean, like, anything, like you really shouldn't ever truly trust anyone altogether, but especially a politician of all people. Don't be fucking idiot. Like, it's a politician. They're professional liars. Like, they may lie less than other ones, but at the end of the day, that is what they do for a living. So don't get caught up in that. All right, Austin, let's get out of here. We're at 2 hours. I still have some tabs I want to go through, but none of it's like pressing stuff. We can cover that tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow at 10 Eastern or 10 a.m. Eastern. I'm not sure if you will or not. You need to knock out that video. That way we can get you refocused in on our fucking. We're gonna knock it out on this tinfoil hat episode. But let the people know where they can find you at, and we'll get out of here, bud.
All right, brother. At Underclass Pod on Twitter, or Theater Thug AWP as well. At the Underclass Podcast on Instagram, and then everybody go support the Patreon, because I'm gonna put out that episode that we did last night to the patrons behind the paywall. So if you guys are interested at all, or anything that I've done has resonated with you, definitely go support the Patreon, because I'm going to attempt to start putting out some sort of incentive, right, other than you just want to support my work. But I very much appreciate everyone who has supported me in the past, and And yeah, beyond that, I am desperately working on my episode that will be done this weekend. So I know it's been like by the 16th, 2 days, man. It's going to be almost 2 months since my last solo project. And I'm like, I am fiending.
Hey man, you've been riding high off on YouTube. Like it's with that process still going. You still keep grinding out numbers and subs. You're gonna catch up to me in no time. You're gonna You're gonna hit 5K in record time. You really are. You do put out good content, and the algorithms recognize it. But sorry, go on, bud.
Thank you, Jose. I'm just super grateful, brother. And I think we're on the right path, man. And I think just objectively pursuing the truth in an honest way, like attempting to just pursue these avenues of interest with the ultimate respect. Like, I just feel like there's an appetite for that more than ever right now. And I think that, it really is the year of the schizo. So I'm very excited. I appreciate everybody here for sure. And we're in this together. And it's as gay as that sounds, as much as I'm not a collectivist philosophically in nature, at least we have each other. So I fucking love you, Jose. And yeah, definitely. I'm excited for the Gladio episode on tinfoil. That's for damn sure that we're going to kill it. So.
Yeah, I mean that's all we fucking talk about, and we already still have another another themed episode we can do for tinfoil hat in the can for next time, because there was 2 different ideas. But either way, that aside, less of the sausage. I know you guys don't want that, but if you guys want to support what I'm doing, you can go over to patreon.com/nowayjose2020. The lowest level, that's $2. That's where you get the early access to the episodes. For example, the episode that's literally, I think it's 12 o'clock right now, so it's literally premiering on my YouTube. So it's on all the platforms right now. Part 2 of the Vegas series that I'm doing with Biggest Shitter. That's literally dropping right now. It's everywhere right now, so you can go check that out. But if you were a patron, you would have got it roughly about a week early. Also on Sunday, I'm recording another one. As I said, I think I might do some bonus episodes. So all stuff you'd get early. Usually it's one a week, kind of shoot for a minimum, but also you can be a talking head on me and Austin's Already Dead show. That's a show me and him do on all of our platforms on Tuesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. The second half of the show we do call-ins, and you can do a video call-in and come on there. That you support me or Austin for that one. You get that perk. Forgot to send the link out last week. I won't this one. I'm sorry. Also, you can get a link to an ad-free RSS feed of No Way Jose, so that way you can get like this show, for example, and listen to it on audio and not have to hear all the ads. So if that's something, I know a lot of people will complain about the ads. If that's something you don't like, fork out $2 and you won't have to worry about it anymore. The highest levels of my sponsors, I'll read them off every episode. My co-host on Tower Gang at Tower Gang Toad, also at Abrogate D's, at ZOVRACK, at _InfitZeo, Tim Tuttle, at John Klebold, and Will Bell's Delicious Blueberry Rabbit Eye Wine. Big fan of the show, Torrin May. Then at INWARD Lover. Please make sure to go hit a like button. I mean, this is if you're on YouTube, Rumble, wherever, go hit a like, hook us up. I mean, hell, go to all of our platforms, hit a like on all of them hook a brother up. Also, leave a 5-star review on the audio podcatchers. Austin's beating me right now. You guys need to fix that, or at least make it close so we can have like a neck and neck. But yeah, make sure you leave those likes. You can follow me on Twitter at TowerGangJose. I'll be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. tomorrow. I'm not sure about Austin. Maybe we'll, maybe won't. But we'll hopefully we'll be seeing an episode from him soon. And with that, we are out of here. Deuces.